Let's look at the draft tool, which is found up here. Now, if you're doing simple square or simple cube, sorry, you can just draft it as you make it. So if I go back into here, you've got the draft for this cylinder that you could add by clicking on this point, which will draft it from the middle or the outside, depending on how you have built it. I've gone symmetric, so it does it from the middle. You may have built it from the blind position, so it'll do it from one end. That is an option. Again, the same for this part here. Mine's a little bit more complex because I've got it working on multiple parts and it's an offset piece, but you can play around with your drafts for those. However, if you want to draft something like so that's going to be attaching to another part, or draft from a specific point, this draft tool up here is quite useful. So we can click on it. The neutral plane for us is going to be this top plane. Okay, so that's where the draft is kind of working from. And our entities to draft are going to be, let's say, these sides. We could just do 3 sides if we wanted to. Maybe we only want to do the 2 sides, the side sides, if that makes sense, or the side faces. Change that angle just to show you a bit better. There is our draft that we've added on there, which is quite nice. I'm going to undo that. You may have some fillets on here. So you may have filleted these parts like so. Let's make those a little bit smaller, say 10 millimeters. And then when you go to draft it, our neutral plane again at the top, entities will be these side bits, or it's actually going to go all the way around. You can reapply these fillets like so, and it will keep them as a simple size. Or, as you can see here, it's actually going along with the draft. So if you want to keep a consistent fillet, that might be quite useful for you. And you can see we have got our piece that's drafted like so. Again, quite useful. There's another option to draft with a parting line. So I'll show you what that is. Let's just delete this part here. What we're going to need to do is we're going to add a parting line somewhere along here. Now, we'll need to add a plane to do this, or you could sketch on it, project a sketch, but let's just add a simple plane. So I'm going to go up here, click on plane. I'm going to drag it up. I'm going to move it around so I can roughly see. Let's say we want it to be at, I don't know, 75. No, let's go 70 millimeters along. Click the green tick. And then up here, where is it gone? We've got our split line. Okay, so we can click on the split line. The parts to split, it's going to be this main part here. And the entities to split with, we're just going to use this plane like so. You can then see that we've then got our split line on there. I can hide that plane. And what we can do is we can go up and use our draft, but we're going to want to use the parting line part here. Now the pull direction, that's where it's going to be basically moving from, so it's the same thing as the neutral. So we're going to be using that, and our parting edges are going to be these parts all the way around, which it has basically selected anyway, but just for completion, I'm going just to make sure it's got all of those. And what you can see is we can then draft down from that position, which can be quite useful depending on what you're trying to do. Perfect. We can change the side, so it's going to have both parts drafting, which we don't actually want to do here. You might want it to be symmetric depending on how it's going to work. But for this example, one is going to be perfect. And we're going to reapply the fillet to keep it nice and consistent. And then as you can see, we have got our part that's drafted just like that. So hopefully quite useful. A nice little tool to save you doing lots of complex geometry with lofts and sweeps and those kinds of things.